I know, hey, that's me nitpicking. This is purely off of opinion. If you don't like it, let me know. But I'll let you know. I don't care. What is going on, everybody? It is Jake with Master Football, back at it again. Happy Friday. Thank you for being here. First of all, before we get into the video, everyone, this is Master Football with Jake, okay? All things NFL, all things pro football, all things college football, all things video game football, anything like that we're going to be discussing it. As a matter of fact, today's our first video on college football, so we'll get into that real quick. But again, Master Football, your news for everything football related. Please, everybody, please subscribe to the channel. Please like it. Please share with your friends. Okay, do all three of those things. I would very much appreciate. Okay, all of those help out. I'm trying to get to that monetization. If I'm able to do this for a job, dude, let's go. But we got to get there first. Okay, knock on wood. Anyways, let's get into the video. All right. I know how I sound. Okay, we're talking about NFL. We're talking about video games. We're talking about college, and then I have 0 videos on college. Okay, this is my first one. So. First video on college. I want to bring up an article I saw recently, talk about the current state of college football, and then I want to talk about 5 big changes I would make to college football to make it more palatable and better for everybody going forward. Let's get into it. All right, here we are on ESPN. The article's title is NCAA's Mark Emmert says this is the right time to consider decentralized, deregulated college sports. As we see here, what's happening right now because of the ruling on the name, image, and likeness, the fact that players are now able to go out there and utilize their name, image, and likeness for compensation. No longer is somebody getting in trouble for, selling a signature, selling getting a tattoo for free or something like that. No more of that BS that we saw before, where the universities would claim, "Oh my God, you need to do it for the sake of the game. We're going to collect all the money you make, though." No more of that crap. But again, article here from the Associated Press. We'll see down here that, it says that he talks about a couple of things. Big one, he says, we need to be ready to say, for field hockey is different than football, wrestling is different than lacrosse, and not get so hung up on having everything be in the same. So I like that big aspect, because all too often we've seen in many different instances where they'll be like, "Oh, well, we need to incorporate this team to move into this conference." And that happened a couple of years ago with a big college football reshuffling. Well, a couple of teams were moving around here and there, and a lot of people were talking, "Oh, well, what would happen to the wrestling program? What would happen to the track team?" And they're like, "Yo, dude, those teams don't make money, okay? It's men's football, it's men's basketball, college, and it's women's basketball at the highest level. Those are the only 3 sports that really make money in college, so they need to be treated differently as such." As we get to the point to where those conferences and those different sports are going to be treating themselves a little bit different, we're going to see a fractionation of a couple sorts. Now, my big issue with college football is that college football kind of operates like boxing right now. Boxing is, there's the haves and the have-nots, meaning that there's no central authority. The reason why the UFC is overtaking the boxing in terms of popularity is because the UFC has a central voice that can dictate and make sure that it does what's best for the sport as opposed to what's best for the individuals. As of right now, I think the problem is the SEC does what's best for the SEC teams. The Big Ten does what's most important for the Big Ten teams, Big 12 the same way, ACC the same way, Pac-12 the same way. And unfortunately, the sport of college football is kind of being jumbled around right now. So I think they actually do need a central voice, even if it happens in a decentralized fashion. We'll kind of get into that right there. Again, I have 5 adjustments I would make to college football to make it more palatable, make it a better situation for all. I think these would be, I got a couple of them. They're going to be in-game adjustments I want to have. A couple are going to be in-season, and then a couple are going to be the playoff. So without further ado, let's get into my 5 ideas. All right, first of all, my number 1 idea is we got to have a running clock, okay? I'm tired of, college football games taking 3.5, taking 4 hours. I mean, if they go into overtime, they're going to take forever. I'm just absolutely tired of that. I think that is one thing that it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I don't know what the justification for that is. If you can tell me, I really appreciate it. But I think that going to a standard clock operating situation, just like the NFL is, I think that would be much better. I know that, high school football operates more like college rules, but I think that having that go that way, it would be a much quicker games, much less injuries and things like that. Also able to do a couple other things that I'm going to be talking about later in this video. I think that less amount of games and plays would highly benefit these other things that I'm going to add out later in the video. All right, the number 2 adjustment I would make for in-game is I love the Kansas City playoff. The Kansas City playoff is where everybody starts off at the 25-yard line and you score. You take turns, and after 2 turns, the third round of overtime on, you have to go for 2. I actually really like those games. However, my big adjustment is, and this actually might lengthen the games. Again, I'll make sure we understand. This would lengthen only the OT games. Was I actually would want them to move the ball from the 25 to the 50. Reason being, I want to make sure that you don't start off in field goal range. If you have a dynamite kicker, you make it, you're good. I know not a lot of teams have really good kickers like that, but I feel like moving that ball back, it would give the semblance of actually having to earn the victory a little bit more. I know that's me nitpicking. This is purely off of opinion. If you don't like it, let me know. Well, I'll let you know. I don't care. But that's what I would do. Move the ball from the 25 back to the 50. I feel like it would just add some more excitement to the game. All right, my third change. Okay, so 3 and 4 are going to be changes that are going to happen during the season. I want to bring up an article really quickly so we can show what we're talking about. I want to talk about conference challenges. Who all here is familiar with the ACC Big Ten Challenge in college basketball? Big aspect of it. ACC, some of the great programs we see, North Carolina, Duke, things like that. The Big Ten, you've got Indiana, you got Michigan, you got Ohio State, you've got a lot of legendary basketball schools there. They decide to have a challenge every year in the preseason. You can see this is November, December. These are very early in the season. You see Iowa at Virginia, Notre Dame at Illinois, Clemson at Rutgers, and so on. I really like that from them in the fact that you can just see kind of like, it's almost like a preseason bowl game, where at college football, they don't really have it that much. They have slowly been getting those and adding them in really quickly. I want to show you a highlight of that really quickly here. So my big favorite, obviously, they have the Chick-fil-A kickoff. You have the Texas kickoff. You also have now the Vegas kickoff. So I think that we can incorporate, Pac-12, Big 10, Big 12, ACC and SEC. There's lots of different agreements you can get going with them, and you can have, this one right here is an independent team and a Pac-12 team playing each other in the kickoff Saturday, September 4th, playing in Allegiant Stadium where the Raiders are playing, a beautiful stadium. But anyways, I would love to see more of these happen during the season just because I feel like the preseason, I do like what the Big Ten did a couple years ago. The Big Ten outlawed playing FCS games. I like that because it increases the level of competition. I think that this is another opportunity to get some exposure to new teams out there. Use that as a cool recruiting opportunity, especially early on in the year. I really like this aspect of it, and I think that there needs to be more of this going forward, especially with agreements between conferences. Say 5 teams play, say 4 teams play here and there. Maybe not all play at a neutral site, but I would love to see a Pac-12, Big 12 agreement between to play, an ACC versus Big 10 agreement to play. That would be really, really cool. All right, so number 4 and number 5. So I'm going to let you know right now. Number 4 is going to be the most controversial one of all, but I feel like it would make up for it with number 5. So number 4, I want to reduce the season length by 1 game, meaning you are only required to play 11 regular season games. There is a special exception. As an example, if you play at Hawaii, you are eligible to play an additional home game because of the daunting task of having to go out there to play at Hawaii. That's one of the special rules that they have. So if you play at Hawaii, you get an additional home game that you can have, or an additional game in general. But for the most part, I would really want 1 less game. Reason being is that I would love to see this next action for number 5. All right, number 5. I'm in. As you can see, I'm from Montana. The FCS has one thing that I believe is superior to the FBS. FCS meaning Montana State. Used to be Appalachian State. Texas State used to be those smaller schools. One thing they have that's superior is they have a 16-team playoff. I would absolutely think that would be awesome. So the reason why I would want to shorten the season, so remember, this all kind of plays into each other. A big aspect that people don't like a 16-team playoff is because it adds 4 games for the championship teams. So they have to play an additional 4 games. They play the round of 16, the round of 8, round of 4, and round of 2. You have to play those additional 4 games. Like, oh my gosh, the season is so long. The season's going to be forever. You have to remember, first of all, I hate that argument, okay? College sports, okay, college football teams have 85 scholarships and are allowed 100 dudes on the team. You have 85 scholarships. In the NFL, it's people who have 53-man rosters, and they only dress 46. So it's not like it's a big ask, okay? And college teams ultimately rotate a lot. Also, if we shorten the games, okay, that would absolutely help out a lot, especially with the length of the season, okay? If we took 1 game away and then we added that playoff season, it would be a lot better. Here's my perspective. Here's the deal. If you take away one game, so it's only 11 games in the regular season, there's 130 FBS teams. So let's just say that's 130 possible matchups. That would be 65, it would be 65 matchups, so 65 games. Let me ask you a question. What do you think is going to be better for college football from a money perspective? 65 games of everybody playing everybody. Who knows what's going to be out there? Most of it would be non-conference games. Okay, those games. Or, you have to remember, we have the championship here. Okay, so we have round of 16, that's 8 games. Round of 8, that's 4 games. Those are the 2 additional because we already have the round of 2 and the round of 4 and the round of 2. So that's 12 additional games. Would you rather have this? Would you rather have 65 games of non-conference play, or would you rather have 12 playoff championship games? As an example, I went ahead and pulled some of the numbers. I pulled the top 16 teams from 2019 season. I don't count the 2020 season. Okay, at Boise State, we didn't win the championship. It doesn't really exist, okay? I don't want to pay attention to it. I mean, the Mountain West Championship. But anyways, I want to make sure you can see what the possible matchups we could see for that first round of the playoffs. Remember, this would be the example. So hold on here. I got my pen and my piece of paper here. So first round would be LSU versus Iowa. It would be Joe Burrow, LSU versus Iowa. Ohio State, Notre Dame. Clemson, Michigan. Oklahoma, Alabama. Georgia, Auburn. Utah, Oregon. That would be a rematch of the Pac-12 championship. Baylor, Penn State, and Wisconsin and Florida. That only gets better, man. I'm telling you, I would way rather watch that than have an extra, game of, that have an extra game of, MAC versus Big Ten or something like that. So I think that would be highly beneficial, especially because as of right now, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up an article just to show you how the conferences, this actually could be beneficial to some of those smaller conferences, even if they give up that game. All right, here we go. So it says, this is an article, NCAA Bowls, why schools don't care about the bonus check, or specifically speaking, because a lot of teams, those smaller teams, don't really care about the fact that they lose money for the bowl game because they get money back from kickbacks. So it says right here, the system is undeniably lucrative for major conferences and bowl game operators, and the college football playoffs revenue distribution model is designed to fill in the gaps. Each conference currently receives $300,000 for each of its schools that meets the criteria for bowl game selection, among other payouts. So if you think about that, what happens is not only do they receive that from the college football playoff, they also receive whoever is bowl eligible. So if somebody's team is bowl eligible but they can't go, they still receive money for that. I think that they would make more money from those games and having that number go from $300,000 to $500,000 to $1 million or something like that, as opposed to having Kent State play San Diego State. Okay, San Diego State's a quality football program. Okay, they give Boise State a ton of trouble, but I really feel like expanding that playoff and kicking back to the smaller schools does a better job than giving the smaller schools another non-conference game that they play. All right, those are my quick adjustments here. Again, I am not the biggest college football fan. I love me some Boise State football, but for the most part, I want to make sure that we can really make sure that we can hone everybody in. The problem is I feel like the SEC does what's best for the SEC. They see the Pac-12. They don't care, okay? They don't care. The Pac-12 doesn't care about what happens in the Big Ten. The Big Ten doesn't care what happens in the SEC. I really feel like if all of these teams can come together in some way as it gets more decentralized, I understand that's happening. But this right here, this model, I feel would be lucrative for everybody. We would still get the kickbacks, and then even the group of 5 schools would still want to be D1. I feel like everybody wins in this instance, and I just like it. Okay, obviously it's perfect. Okay, my ideas are great. All right, but seriously, tell me in the comments what you would do about college football to fix it. What I am worried about is I am worried about college football being regional, basically just the SEC and whatever ACC South team wins the championship. That's what's going to happen. Ohio State can maybe compete every once in a while, and then Oregon pretends like they can compete every once in a while too. So I really want it to be a national sport. I feel like if we did this, it would make it a more national sport. You give automatic qualifiers, you could do things like that, but I really think this would be a much better idea than what they have right now and would help out everybody with what they're really concerned about: money, exposure, and things like that. All right, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I'd love to get your opinions on this. We got a couple weeks until football season really, really gets going. So I will see you guys then. Have yourselves a good weekend.